Hey there, my name is Vladimir and welcome back to my channel. So today, as always, in our channel we have such a cool plane. But guys, this one is literally stunning. Please welcome Piaggio Avanti EVO. This is the kind of plane whose description usually begins with the words, the most. The fastest pipe tube in the civilian world. It's the most efficient turbine in the world. It is also the most environmentally friendly aircraft in the world, as its emissions per kilometer are simply minimal compared to its competitors. So welcome to our test flight. Incredibly beautiful, extremely cool, and yet very Italian. Piaggio Avanti. It looks like a flying duck, Canard as we call it. But the truth is, it's not a Canard. Rather, it's a plane with 3 aerodynamic surfaces as the manufacturer claims. And if you look at the plane in terms of aerodynamics, it's perfectly designed. It's so not standard. And here are some of the features that I would like to emphasize. 1. Specifically, the fuselage of this plane creates about 20% of the lift. I mean, the fuselage itself works essentially as a wing. Next up, this thing in the front, it's not a control surface like we used to see on the Canard class planes like Starship, which we used to shoot about, and there's a video on the channel. This one has control surfaces over here. Note that this one is a real wing. And it's not an aileron, it's a flap that's released and closed to create lift. A very thin and fast wing, which is as far back as possible, and the longitudinal length that passes behind, it made possible a very large fuselage size. The size of the fuselage inside the Avanti cabin is larger than the King airplane. It is significantly larger than the Cessna XLS, not to mention the CJ. I mean, he's bigger than all his classmates, way bigger. Avanti, for all its seemingly small size outside, is actually quite spacious inside. I mean, not many planes can fit full-length me. So considering Avanti model, we have a 7-seater version, with the first 4 seats located in a so-called club. I mean, you're in a club zone right now. That's a pretty wide plane though, so the seat can be moved as you like. You can put it in absolutely any position convenient for you. In particular, if we talk about this seat, it can be unfolded 180 degrees and all this turns into one big long sofa on which you can lie down and relax. And in case you're flying just 2 of you, well, you can easily put your feet up on the opposite seat. Now let's take a look at these tables. By the way, the most common question is about the toilet. Yes, this plane is equipped with a regular toilet. What I am saying here is that we have a fully private area, a WC area that could be closed. And there's a wardrobe as well. By the way, here's a rather roomy luggage compartment, and many ask me about skis. Yes, skis and snowboards fit without any problem. Well, we have a very thin and backward wing, and then it is turboprop engines that aren't installed in the classical form. To pull, no, on this model they're pushing. And this makes it possible to work as efficiently as possible, so that all the noise is completely behind you, and you will notice that later during the flight. I mean, when you're flying a Piaggio plane, you can communicate inside the plane in a completely calm way without raising your voice, which is almost impossible for many turboprops. We're in takeoff mode right now, and in fact, this is the noisiest part of the flight. As you can see, we're not taking off too loudly, and Piaggio's altitude gradient corresponds to the jet aircraft as well. The wing that is mounted in the front, it just compensates, because the classic aircraft are usually equipped with a stabilizer, which somehow compensates for the protective effect of the wing. Specifically in this model, the stabilizer is mounted in such a way that it gives almost zero resistance. It does not create lift. It's the front surface that creates the compensating drive points. So the first thing we notice about this plane is the pushing screw. The aircraft is equipped with 2 PT6 engines of 850 horsepower each, and again, because the propellers operate in an absolutely clear stream without blowing the air, without blowing the wing, their efficiency is much higher. The props are located in the exhaust, and hot gases, I would even say very hot gases come out of the exhaust system. By the way, they create relatively little traction. This effect is present here to a small extent, and so in this case, the propeller doesn't need a de-icing system, and therefore there are no additional linings. The surface remains cleaner and the efficiency is higher. Well, you see, it's all about efficiency. In this clean aerodynamic form, considering it's not a composite plane, it's a solid metal plane, which was built according to an old, classic, sturdy design. By the way, the most thrilling thing, here during the production of some panels was used chemical milling. I mean, if there was a need to create some areas of strength on a sheet of metal, then by a special technology, chemical milling removed excess metal. A little bit about the history of this plane. This plane was built jointly by Piaggio and Learjet companies. Learjet, if you are not aware, was the legislator. That is, Lear itself produced the first business jet that ever came into the market. That was the Learjet 24. And the Piaggio company has a huge number of produced models of aircraft in the period before the Second World War, and also a lot of models during the Second World War. And these two companies, collaborating together, started this project in the middle of the 1980s. By the way, the family traits of Learjet are clearly visible over here. In particular, these aerodynamic surfaces. This is really a sort of family trait that can be seen on any Learjet. They had several options. The first Piaggio Avanti P180, as well as Piaggio Avanti 2, was already an improved series. And now, since 2015, the manufacturer began to produce Piaggio Avanti Evo. The Evo model is, by the way, quite easy to distinguish from the others, as it has small wingtips on its wings. But Evo has other propellers and other chassis as well. Because the Avanti chassis is serviced every 12 years, and the Evo has stepped further, which has allowed the figure to increase to 15 years without chassis maintenance, well, there are also LED headlights on the main racks. Again, in theory, the owners of Avanti 2 can make certain modifications and make the aircraft equal to Piaggio Avanti Evo. It is also worth noting the interesting constructive solutions in this plane. In particular, there is a single point of refueling. Look, here's a mini hatch for refueling. I mean, this is where the system is connected, and if you're refueling at a big airport, the fuel comes directly into all the fuel tanks. And here we see a mini control hatch. What's that? So that's where we can do a fuel test in the tanks, check the oil level. So absolutely everything can be done with this panel only. But if you're arriving at a relatively small airport, and by the way, this plane allows you to land on small sites, then you can use the standard gas station neck located over there. You just take the ladder, go up to it, and then you do everything exactly in the same way as you're supposed to do at the gas station. It took less than 15 minutes to fill the plane. I mean, imagine how fast. A little about the capabilities of this bird. Its cruise capabilities are 400 nautical miles. That's its maximum speed. But if we're talking about the cruise speed at which the plane can fly in economical mode, it's 350 miles. And at this speed, it usually consumes about 100 gallons per hour. And speaking of the range of this model, it is designed for a distance of up to 1,250 miles. This is the distance you will be able to overcome comfortably. And I mean, this distance is optimal. Given the presence on board of the Aeronautical Reserve, all the necessities for emergency cases, etc. Next, the aircraft can fly up to 410 echelons, which is about 41,000 feet. For this model, the height is easily achievable. Given this point, it can be concluded that the plane is in fact becoming a kind of all-weather plane, and it really is. Because one, at such altitudes it flies much higher than the cruise planes are flying, which allows you to save fuel. And the second is that in many cases this plane can raise the weather because again, it flies extremely high. And basically being a turboprop, it flies in the eco-business jet industry. And in fact, if we compare this plane to its competitors, then the fuel efficiency of this model would be 40% higher. And in fact, when the owner of such a plane checks the accounts at the end of the year, they are much different from the accounts of business jets owners. And perhaps, to be quite precise, Choosing the Piaggio Avanti, it's only on the outside the plane seems so small, whereas in fact you fly in a middle-class jet, while paying the bills like it's a small jet. I mean, the cost of plane maintenance is really going to be up to about 60% less than the cost of other planes from business aviation. Of course, in business aviation, the term inexpensive is relative. And again, the cost of owning this plane is less, for which it is very much loved. Because even though you buy a costly jet, you get in return minimal maintenance. Let's take a look at the wing. It's heated. The hot air from the compressor comes in here. There are special cameras that allow the wing to heat up during the flight. And the prop, of course, doesn't require a de-icing system because it's installed inside an exhaust turbine, as I said earlier. By the way, the front windshield is heated as well, in the same way the electric heating is at the front of the wing. See, that's a de-icing sensor, and the way it works is that there's always a very small vibration at a very high frequency. And when the ice is starting to appear on the surface, then the vibration and the frequency change, so the pilot gets a warning that the plane is getting frozen. Well, actually, this plane has a reverse, so you can easily go back and turn it on. Stuff like that. It is not correct, but the reverse is usually used on landing. I mean, basically, any runway up to 1,000 meters long will be quite enough for that plane to take off or land. A 3,200 feet runway is absolutely sufficient for any landing of the aircraft and in any scenario. So essentially, if the aircraft isn't overloaded, then the length of the runway may be shorter. But again, 3,200 is enough at full load and under extreme conditions. That's a really good one. Well, welcome aboard the Piaggio Avanti. But actually, how to open the Piaggio Avanti? Oh, got it. A plane with an air stair, just the way I like it. To date, the new Avanti Evo will cost you between $7.5 million and $8 million. This aircraft is still manufactured, and as an interesting detail, is also manufactured in the military version, including the unmanned version, as based on the Piaggio Avanti, and there are unmanned aircraft, combat, which can be used for the purpose. Not a new plane that doesn't need maintenance soon, that doesn't need chassis maintenance yet or CD check, which is well-resourced units with good interior condition and fully flight capable. I'd say that you'll pay $5 million. This is if we are talking about the Avanti 2, while the Evo model can easily cost $3 to $5 million, as it is newer and produced since 2015. But for me, the best option is still Piaggio Avanti 2. Avanti is a single pilot certified aircraft that only one can fly. And basically, the avionics installed over here, such as Collins ProLine 21, makes the pilot's work much easier. This includes a good information complex and an excellent autopilot, FMs, and so on. Well, as a matter of fact, we're up to 140 echelon now, and by and large, it's more of a sightseeing tour. And at this point, the instrumental speed reaches 140 miles per hour, which we are gradually accelerating. And here we have two, commander and co-pilot. This is the MFD, where you enter all the navigational information. Information about the status of the engines, including here under the left hand is installed FM's Collins. Here you can put the entire flight plan, and the plane will fly accordingly. And this is the trimmer panel. This is where we have all the autopilot controls. And I mean, basically the entire flight is manual. See, here we have the de-icing buttons. And there's the system test electric panel, which means you can check all the systems from here, or in case of an error, you can see it on the panel over here. This is a kind of an emergency altitude indicator. It has an altimeter, the speed, an air horizon, and I can't help but notice how amazing the view of this cockpit is, because the windows are huge, and this view has to be covered with a curtain because the sun is so blinding. And this is where the ceiling system is, given that there's a very high degree of airflow. And I mean, there's a differential 9 psi, and on the 410 echelon, that's about 41,000 feet of the plane holding 6,000 feet. That's why the flight is so comfortable, and you're not getting tired quickly. All right, Cessna 150 or Avanti? What can I tell you? The Cessna 150 is a great plane if you want to have some fun somewhere nearby. And let Avanti wait until you do not need to fly somewhere far on business. So generally, the concept of this particular plane right here, where I am now, I mean, all right, it's comfortable and cool, but if you want to get the thrill of flying in the pilot's seat, it's not really about Avanti. The whole point of Avanti is this club zone. Still, the philosophy of this plane, it's not about piloting. No, it's a passenger philosophy. I mean, the main and coolest part of this plane is there in the back, when you just enjoy a comfortable flight as a passenger. All right, there was something about being a pilot. But again, back there in the passenger seat, I got much more of a buzz. As a conclusion, the philosophy of Piaggio, it isn't Ferrari, but rather it's Rolls-Royce. Guys, come to the sky, fly such wonderful planes that we fly. My name is Vladimir, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next episode.